The Israel-Gaza conflict, a fragile ceasefire, and the humanitarian crisis. The Israel-Gaza conflict has reached a critical juncture, with a fragile ceasefire agreement hanging in the balance. But here's where it gets controversial. Hamas claims it has handed over all accessible hostage bodies, while Israel accuses the group of delaying the process, sparking a heated debate over the use of aid as a bargaining chip. This is the part most people miss: the complex web of negotiations, accusations, and humanitarian concerns that threaten to derail the peace process. Hostage release and aid restrictions. According to recent reports, 2 coffins containing the remains of deceased hostages have been transferred from Hamas to the Red Cross and are now in Israel. The Israel Defense Forces, IDF, stated that the remains will undergo formal identification procedures at the National Institute for Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv. However, the slow release of hostage remains has led Israel to consider restricting aid to Gaza, a move that has sparked outrage among humanitarian groups. The role of the Red Cross and international community. The Red Cross has been instrumental in facilitating the transfer of hostage remains and humanitarian aid. As of Wednesday, the organization was expected to receive several coffins of deceased hostages in northern Gaza. Meanwhile, international agencies, including the World Food Program and the United Nations, have expressed concerns about the delayed and reduced aid flow to Gaza, where Palestinians are returning to devastated communities with limited access to food, water, and medical supplies. Trump's warning and Netanyahu's stance. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that Israeli forces could resume fighting in Gaza if Hamas fails to uphold the ceasefire agreement. In a separate development, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to disarm Hamas if the group refuses to do so voluntarily. These statements highlight the precarious nature of the peace process and the deep-seated tensions between the parties involved. Humanitarian crisis and international law. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza has been exacerbated by the conflict, with aid workers describing catastrophic conditions for survivors. Fikr Shaltut, the Gaza director for medical aid for Palestinians, warned of avoidable deaths and deprivation if aid is not allowed to flow freely. The situation raises serious concerns about violations of international law, including the right to humanitarian aid and the protection of civilians. Controversial interpretations and counterpoints. As the situation unfolds, controversial interpretations and counterpoints have emerged. Some argue that Israel's decision to restrict aid is a legitimate response to Hamas's failure to uphold the ceasefire agreement, while others contend that aid should never be used as a bargaining chip. The debate highlights the complex moral and ethical dilemmas surrounding the conflict. Thought-provoking questions. As we navigate this complex issue, we must ask ourselves, is it justifiable to restrict aid to Gaza as a means of pressuring Hamas? How can the international community ensure that humanitarian aid reaches those who need it most? And what steps can be taken to hold perpetrators of international law violations accountable? These questions invite discussion and debate, encouraging readers to form their own opinions and engage with the complexities of the Israel-Gaza conflict.